This is Super Rude Bear Resurrection, a brutally hard platformer with a twist. You know how in Super Meat Boy, when you finish a level, you get to see a replay of all your failed attempts? Well, this game takes that idea and cranks it to the next level. Every time you die, your corpses stay in the level permanently. And that's not just for decoration. Your past failures become literal stepping stones. Maybe your old body creates a platform to stand on. Maybe it blocks a spike, a laser, or in some cases becomes an entire wall shielding you from missiles. It's an insanely clever idea that technically lets anyone beat this brutally difficult platformer. That's assuming you're willing to let this poor bear meet his end again and again. 106 deaths. Okay, new record. But here's the catch. To get the Platinum Trophy, I need to beat every single level without dying. This is also known as rainbowing a level.
Alright, one rainbow down. Look at that.
That means that all of my creative corpse stacking strategies, totally gone. Instead of brute forcing my way through, I'll need to actually get good at the game. And that's a problem, because some of these levels took me hundreds of deaths the first time through. Only 15 people have ever managed to do this, and if I want to join them, I've got a long road ahead. So let's dive in and see how this disaster began. The tutorial kicks off with us meeting our little guide, a fairy who never shuts up. Think Navi, but even more talkative. That said, he does have one very important function, cleaning out corpses that get in the way. Without him, it'd be way too easy to softlock yourself by piling up a huge amount of bear corpses and being unable to get to the end of the level. So, after a quick warm-up and learning how to use him, I get my first trophy for clearing the tutorial. There we go, first blood. Complete the tutorial. One down, a lot more to go. World 1 eases me in. Kind of. The first real challenge is controlling Rude Bear himself. He's fast, slippery, and stopping him on a dime takes actual effort. If you think I'm exaggerating, just listen to my near constant complaining here. The controls are crazy. The controls are like way more sensitive than what I'm used to. Like, see, I can't even stick this landing on top of this platform. So sensitive. That's crazy. Can't even drop straight down. Ooh. Don't worry, I eventually get a handle on this, but I think it's good to know that there's a little bit of an initial learning curve. As I continue through World 1, I start to see the corpse system in action. I feel like the first real roadblock came here at the end of level 5, where the game ramps up the platforming. Over and off the left wall, maybe? Close. I try to get through with minimal deaths, but eventually I can't avoid tripping over my own mistakes and just brute force my way through. I can use the corpse at least. God dang. It's gonna be so tempting to do exactly this, of just like spam corpses to make the levels easy, but that obviously is not gonna work once we have to flawless these levels. We then hit our first boss fight, Germ and Whip. Germ is a bouncing slime ball, and Whip launches itself at me every few seconds. There are 7 bosses total, and honestly, they're really good. Some play like puzzles, like this one, some feel like one-on-one duels, and others are straight-up platforming tests. Solid variety, big thumbs up from me. Taking down Germ and Whip gives us a trophy, and we're off to World 2, the Ice World. Okay, World 1 down, not too bad. Right away, we stumble into our first Miscellaneous trophy. Ah, shoot. Ooh, hey, listen. You should pay attention to the fairy. If I had actually listened to the fairy, I would have known that the icicle was about to drop on my head. But as usual, I ignored him, got hit, and the game gave me a trophy as a reward. I'll touch on other Miscellaneous trophies later, but overall they're very solid. They're creative, a few of them have a decent challenge, and more importantly, they're actually fun to collect. The other big thing that we find in World 2 are the hidden collectibles. Each world has 3, and when you find one, you open up a brutal bonus level. Hey, look at that. First collectible, if we can get up there. The collectible we find here was pretty simple to get to, but some of them are actually a little bit tough. Ooh, okay. Yeah, there's a secret right there, so we needed to beat this ice down. Should we go for it? Let's try for it. For this one, we need to beat this falling icicle, and I just wasn't quite fast enough yet, so we'll come back to it later. Or we're just gonna bail on it. But we did unlock one bonus level from that first collectible. This one is all about riding icicles, and once again, I rely on the corpse system to brute force my way through. At this point, I still feel like I'm in control, but somewhere in the back of my head, I'm starting to take note that things are definitely getting a bit harder. Extreme cheating in that section, but what can you do? The World 2 boss is a simple one, trap him at the bottom of the screen and drop an icicle on his head. Another trophy down, and we move on to World 3. World 3 is another nice change of scenery. It's got spelunky-style traps, rolling boulders, and an ancient statue boss. This guy just breaks through the floor until we reach the exit. Later, I'd learned that if you immediately run left, you get a super safe pattern, but for now, I just kind of flail about and eventually reach my way to the bottom. Worlds 4 and 5 are where things start to get dicey. The first moment of true dread happens in level 4-1. These conveyor belts shift your momentum so fast that I cannot see a way to get through this without dying.
Got a lot of corpses down there. I bet we can just stand. Yeah. I mean, we're just gonna cheat again. That seems extraordinarily difficult.
Once again, I just spam corpses, but the question is starting to creep in. Can I actually do this deathless?
The beginning of the level wasn't terrible, but that's very tough.
Then in World 5, my over-reliance on corpses gets fully exposed in this section.
I mean, so this level is a good example of how I suck at the game right now. Like, this is one of the few obstacles that does not get easier by corpses. I mean, maybe I could get some that like just fill the entire space with corpses that would block all the missiles. But yeah, this is a good example of like I'm just trash at the game right now. If I wasn't relying on corpses to get through the main levels, I would be in massive trouble.
You can even see me go into the denial phase of grief here. My confidence is definitely shaken.
I cannot believe the guide says it's an 8 out of 10. Maybe it's just not as bad as I think.
That being said, I do really love the level design of these worlds. We get rotating laser beams, anti-gravity, portals, and some really creative sections that mix and match all of these mechanics in fun ways.
Very Meat Boy forever.
As for bosses, World 4 has a dance battle against a robot. It's basically an auto-scroller where I dodge attacks until the platform reaches the top. Right now it's easy because I can die as much as I want, but it's going to be one of the tougher ones to do deathless.
Served. Boss 4 down.
World 5 has Waste Man, clearly inspired by Mega Man bosses. He tries to grab me with a claw attack, but the trick is to bait him into grabbing his own trash, a missile, or even one of my own corpses. Do this 4 times, and he's done. Once you know what you're doing, he's one of the easier bosses.
Ooh, wasted. Okay, interesting boss. Yeah, I'm sure there's a pattern that can work well for him, but kind of tough.
And then, everything falls apart. As soon as we hit World 6, we find out that our fairy companion has betrayed us. And fittingly, this is where I start to experience actual panic. The final section of level 6-1 is where I truly cannot comprehend completing this game deathless. No exaggeration, I burned through dozens of corpses here, getting more and more frustrated.
I just like don't understand how this could possibly be done deathless. I think I just like straight up don't understand the mechanics. Like there's no way that I can possibly round that corner. How do you do that? I'm so far away from being there. God, I don't know about this one. I've like truly never considered bailing on a game after the casual playthrough, but I don't think I can do this one. That's crazy. That's insanely hard.
Beating that level gives us a true mark of shame, seeing the screen that basically says, "You kind of suck, maybe you should go try the earlier levels."
If you found that too hard to be fun, practice earlier levels.
I of course refuse this advice, and my reward is yet another brutal level. In this section, there's a blowgun trap that fires down on you as you try to scale the wall, and then 2 blowguns at the end of the hallway.
This is like one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Some of these, like, maybe I sped through the tutorial too quickly, but I do not understand what is going on here.
This is the only time in the entire playthrough where I actually quit a level before beating it. And it's here that I realize something. This game is messing with me in a way that no other difficult game ever has. In something like Super Meat Boy, you have no choice but to learn the level. You suffer, you improve, and eventually you conquer it legitimately. The game takes you along for that learning curve. But in Rude Bear, the corpse system gives you an easy way out. Instead of actually learning the levels and improving, I spent the entire game cheating my way through. and now as I stare down the Deathless Challenge, I feel completely unprepared. It's a pretty brutal feeling, but also, it's incredibly unique. Out of every hard game I've played, this is the only one that has made me feel helpless, and I think that's really interesting. I think I'm gonna leave this level. I don't want to do that one. We're gonna go back to 6-4. So back to the main levels of World 6, and I'm doing my best to keep my spirits up. Thankfully, the game throws me a bone, and we pick up 2 miscellaneous trophies without even trying. One of them is a little bit of a tutorial in disguise. It teaches us that blowguns fire only once if we bait them correctly. Puzzle platformer. Ascend the vertical shaft in 6.4 without activating each splitter more than once. Clearly, I'm still a little bit confused. I have no idea what's going on. The other comes in the final level of the world, where we take the top route across the sand. Ooh, alright, not bad. Sandmaster Flash. Hop over the sand platforms in 6.5 without touching the bottom rail. Interesting. But the real highlight of the world is the boss, Dark Brood Bear. He's easily the best boss of the game, in my opinion. He mirrors your exact movements, and the intended strategy is to use him as a platform while navigating all these obstacles. On my first attempt, I had no idea that this was going on, and I just bulldozed my way through the entire level, but hey, if it works, it works. At the top of the tower, we hit him with a dart, grab the trophy, and we move on. It's a fantastic fight. Ah, wow. Murked. 106 deaths. Okay, new record. Jeez. So at this point, we've reached the final world, and I've fully accepted my fate. I'll do whatever it takes just to reach the credits. But before that, we'll get a nice sneak peek at what will soon become my greatest nightmare. 7-2, aka Trepidation. This is the hardest level in the entire game to rainbow. It's short, but it demands so many precise jumps that completing it in one go feels borderline impossible. Let's break it down. Checkpoint 1 is basically a warm-up. There are a few small jumps here, but nothing too bad. Checkpoint 2, on the other hand, is ridiculous. You have to scale these steps by wall jumping off the tiny slivers of non-spiked walls. I actually found a different strategy here, but for now, corpses. Lots and lots of corpses. Checkpoint 3 is super short. It's just one precise jump, which can be a little bit tricky, but compared to some of these others, it's manageable. Checkpoint 4, I like to call the fall. It's a free fall down a long, spiked chasm weaving between all of these obstacles. Ironically, in this run, my corpses start to get in the way a little bit, but we eventually make it through. Checkpoint 5 looks harmless, but it definitely isn't. There are 2 brutal jumps here with tiny windows for error. The first one requires a perfect late jump to get over this first set of spikes, and the second, if you're too early, you bonk your head on the ceiling, and if you're too late, you slide into the spikes. This one will kill a lot of runs in the future. Finally, we have Checkpoint 6, which is just evil. You can see the exit, but there are 3 spiked-filmed pillars in the way. You need 3 jumps where you land on the very edge of the pillar. It is a real psychological test after getting through the entire level. So yeah, I'll be spending hours on this nightmare in the future, but for now, let's just finish the game. On our way to the boss, we squeeze in one last miscellaneous trophy, riding on the exact right spot on this spinning wheel. Okay, that worked pretty well. 9 rider. And then it's time. The final boss. Remember our fairy friend? It turns out that was actually an evil wizard. The final fight is basically Flappy Bird, but with lasers. It's not super difficult, but after getting bullied by this game for hours, finally being able to fight back feels incredible. With one last blast, the wizard goes down, and the final trophy for beating the game pops. And just like that, we've reached the credits. Ooh, alright. E3rd. Defeat the wizard, 35 deaths. But we're not even close to being over because it's now time to start the Rainbow Run grind. This is the real test. Flawless runs on every single level in the game, including bonus levels to earn 7 trophies, 1 for each world. I can't possibly show every tough level because there are way too many, but let's go over some of the more interesting ones. World 1's final bonus level has a huge skip. If you do a little dance with the boss at the start, you can actually ride on his head way into the sky. Then, with the right timing, you can drop straight to the exit. I went back after the fact to play this level legit, and it wasn't too bad, but I'll still take an easy rainbow. With that, we unlock Ultimate Violet, our first rainbow trophy, 1 color down. As a side note, we also picked up 2 miscellaneous trophies here.
one for skipping a long auto-scroller by squeezing through some obstacles here, and then another for sneaking past the side of an elevator to drop down quickly.
Gotta slide through and then land it. Nice, tight fit.
The last level that we have to do for World 2 is our old nemesis 2-B3. This is the one with the icicles. This was the first bonus level I found during my casual playthrough, and back then it totally destroyed me. But now I'm way better at the game, and I can definitely feel it. This final jump is pretty terrifying, and it definitely ended a few runs. You need to go full speed and jump off the very edge of this icicle to clear the spikes.
Ooh. Almost tough.
As I'm going through worlds 3, 4, and 5, something definitely changes. Instead of being overwhelmed like I was earlier in the game, I start to get my confidence back. The game almost starts to remind me of these splasher individual level speedruns. The challenge is still intense, but now every completed level feels like a victory. Every one I cross off the list is another deep breath of relief. Most levels take somewhere between 30 and 90 minutes to perfect. For comparison, I just finished N++, and the longest I ever spent on a single level there was maybe 45 minutes. Granted, N++ had 1,300 levels, so that was a different kind of grind, but I think I prefer Rude Bear's difficulty. There are 50 or so levels, and they're all very hard. After a lot of hard work, we pick up the trophies for World 4 and 5. As a small side note, I actually skipped the World 3 boss for now, so I don't quite get that trophy yet. I couldn't figure out how to get him to do his easy pattern of attacks, so we'll come back to this trophy later. And now we are back. Back to this checkpoint that almost broke me and made me quit. But this time, I'm here for revenge. I've switched the difficulty settings so corpses no longer appear, so I need to do it legit. After a few runs in, I can tell already that I've leveled up. It still takes me a couple of attempts to get through this checkpoint, but I know that I can do it now. So I buckled in for the long grind of slowly mastering this level. Tons and tons of death, perfecting the muscle memory to do all of these maneuvers. The rest of the level is no joke either. Take a look at some of these other checkpoints that I also need to master in order to even have a shot at this last checkpoint. After 2.5 hours of practice, I have another shot at the final checkpoint with no deaths. I tell myself to just go fast and let muscle memory take the wheel. My reaction is pretty muted, but I promise you I was super excited to beat this level that almost made me quit this game. The other notable level in World 6 is the Dark Rude Bear fight. Again, one of my favorite levels in the game. I spent 2 hours on stream just grinding this one out, and it is tough. The level is long, requires a ton of patience dodging these blowgun shots, and the fight with Dark Rude Bear himself is really tricky when you can't use corpses to cheese it. Here you can see me using the intended technique to beat this guy. You use him as a wall to climb up the stage. The hardest part of the level is probably these 3 moving platforms. You really have to have the timing perfect. Every time I make it towards the end of this fight, I'm feeling the nerves. Don't die on this corner one. I can psych myself out on. Good. Alright, and then we got this. We're very good at this section. Oh, so close. It was like a millisecond away from having the timing right there. It was a brutal death, but there's no giving up, and we claw our way back. Okay, last jump. Oh, we did it. Wow. We still had one more bonus level to beat in this world, so not long after that, we finally get the trophy. Whew. We've made it to the final world, which means one thing. 7-2, aka trepidation. Since this is by far the hardest level, I saved it for last. That means tackling the bonus levels, and along the way, I pick up a trophy for getting the last collectible, which lets me in the final bonus stage. Many of these levels were tough, but nothing comes close to trepidation, so let's get right to that. On my casual playthrough, I used corpses to cheese my way through the level, and it took me 44 lives. Now, no corpses, no safety net, just pure suffering. And as expected, it's absolute carnage. On every single jump, I only have pixels to work with. By the time I somehow stumble across the finish line, my death count is at 386, and that's with checkpoints. At this point, I know I just need to grind it out, so I fire up a stream and start chipping away.
Over the next few hours, I make slow but steady progress. In this section, I tweak my approach a little bit. Instead of chaining wall jumps, I find it easier to land on the very edge of the lip. The freefall section is definitely still a problem, but at least I'm getting a bit more consistent. These two jumps though, I still hate them. They're still really, really tough.
Definitely more lenient than this second jump. Hate the second jump. There's a sweet spot. I went too early there. There we go. 7 again.
Finally, after about 3 hours, I get a run where everything clicks.
Alright, finally made it back up. Good. Good.
This is my first time making it towards the end of the level with no deaths.
One jump away.
After being so close, I decide I need a little bit of a break and I call it a night. But I couldn't help myself, and a few hours later, I'm back at it. No stream, no distractions, just me and this level. As I reach this final section, the only thing I can do is trust my instincts and just send it. I pray my muscle memory holds up as I fly through the final 3 pillars, and finally, it's over. Trepidation is done.
Did it? The thing that I was working for 3 hours on stream.
With that, one of the hardest parts of this platinum is behind me. I have a tiny bit of cleanup for the final rainbow trophy. Remember how I skipped the World 3 boss? Time to go back and actually learn how to fight him properly. When I take him down, I unlock 2 trophies, the last rainbow trophy for completing every level flawlessly, and another one for finishing all levels with fewer than 10 deaths. At this point, I still have a handful of difficult trophies left, but before diving into those, I take a quick detour, a palate cleanser, to knock out a bunch of miscellaneous trophies. There are tons of these, and they're pretty easy, so I'll just highlight the more interesting ones. A few are related to speedruns. This one has you beat the tutorial in under 26 seconds, which is actually trickier than it sounds. You have to time your jumps perfectly while using the ferry to clear out these corpses. There are also 2 more speedrun trophies for reaching the first checkpoint in specific World 1 levels. Again, these aren't too tough, but there's zero room for error. I actually enjoyed these quite a bit. They were nice challenges that took maybe 5 or 10 minutes to finish. There are some other trophies for interacting with the levels in interesting ways. In World 2, there's a trophy for sprinting under these icicles instead of using the safe route on top. And then in World 3, I have to touch each one of these platforms while also outrunning the boulder to the end of the level. One of the most unique trophies I've ever gotten is called Sinister. To unlock it, you have to beat all of World 1 using only your left hand. That means no buttons on the right side of the controller. Fortunately, you can use L1 to jump, which makes this possible, but it's still pretty awkward. I actually talked to the game's developer about this one, and he told me the idea came from conventions. When he was showing off the game at his booth, he'd play one-handed so he could eat lunch or do other things with his other hand. Respect.
Nice. Sinister. Left-handed.
There are also a few trophies for beating levels in a minimal number of jumps. Nothing too crazy here, but it was fun figuring out the most efficient paths. It was also a little bit nerve-wracking because there's not a jump counter, and so you just kind of have to hope that you've done it correctly.
I did get it. Wow. That must have been right around 50.
After knocking out all of these easier miscellaneous trophies, we're down to the final 4. First up, we need to do a full game speedrun in under 2 hours and 10 minutes. At first, I had flashbacks to Splasher, but this challenge was actually pretty forgiving. You get about 40 minutes of wiggle room. You can also use corpses throughout the run, and so you can totally cheese some of the tougher levels. The scariest level in the run is one of the final bonus levels. In this level, you have to deal with this flashing pink light. It'll kill you if you're not standing in a safe spot. This level's scary because you really can't use corpses to cheese it, you just have to get through the level naturally. Luckily, I had tons of time to spare at this point, and so I wasn't too concerned. My final time was around 1 hour and 40 minutes with over 500 deaths. There's plenty of room for improvement, but hey, a win's a win. Now for one of the toughest trophies in the game, Boss Rush Mode. You have to defeat all 7 bosses back to back without dying. Every guide I found said that this was the hardest trophy in the set, and so I dove in and began practicing. The notable bosses are probably Dark Rude Bear, World 4's Dancing Robot, and the Wizard at the very end. These are the ones that I really needed to improve on because I was still dying a couple of times every time I fought them. But after grinding a while, I saw real progress.
My death count dropped from 65 into the teens. But then something unexpected happened. I beat a run, went to reset, and the trophy popped. It turns out there's a glitch with this trophy, and you can totally cheese it. I knew that some bug existed here, but I didn't really know how to activate it, and I definitely wasn't trying to use it. So it was a big surprise when it popped. Again, when I was chatting with the developer, he said he went back and found the bug in the code and that he is considering patching it soon. So if you do want to cheese this trophy, start this game soon. I might go back and do a legit run at some point. I do feel a little bit bad about cheating on this one, but honestly, I don't think the trophy is that bad or that difficult. I was making solid progress, and I probably could have pulled it off with another hour or so of practice. So who knows, might come back to this one at some point. Alright, and with that we have 2 trophies left. First up is a World 3 speedrun. You need to beat every level, including the bonus levels, in under 8 minutes. Even though I've done these levels deathless, it's been a while, and so I need a refresher. I get comfortable with the first few levels, but the last one is really weird. The intended way to beat the level is to ride the boss to the exit, but that's way too slow for a speedrun, and so instead I run ahead and break these obstacles to make my own path.
I think we will probably, assuming this level is not a disaster, I think we will probably get it here. Okay, so now we can finish the level.
Here we have a solid run going, and we just need to get to the end.
I'm gonna do those jumps, which sucks. God, so bad. We're stuck in hell in here. Okay. Let's see. I don't think so. Yeah, I think that last level was too bad. Oh, that's a shame.
It was a bummer to lose that one. I really think I had it if I didn't choke there, but we reset, run it back, and this time the final level goes a little bit better.
Alright, this could be it. Yes, Pit Marauder. Whew. Beat Temple in under 8 minutes in one go, collecting all fairy statues. That's a tough one.
For the last trophy, I have to beat all of Space World with 10 deaths or fewer. First of all, shout out to my chat for saving me, because I thought World 4 was Space World and almost wasted an hour practicing the wrong levels.
Okay, 3 deaths. Not bad. Wait, this is the wrong world? Oh my god.
Once I actually got to the right world, things go relatively smoothly until the second to last level.
Oh, very bad. Hard jumps here, too. Oh, man, I threw. We still have a shot, but... Okay, we have 1 death that we can take in this level.
This last level is short, but the moving platforms can be a little bit sketchy.
This can be a tough... That can be a tough little drop. Okay, there's our death. It's a new one. I don't think I've ever died like that.
I get through it, but now I have to flawlessly beat this final boss.
Okay, and if we can flawless the boss, I think we have it. Will be tough, though.
If I hadn't cheesed the boss rush trophy, this would probably be pretty easy. But now there's no safety net. I need 4 hits on the boss to win.
Two more. Three. One more hit. A good pattern here, please. Ah, shoot.
This was just a terrible throw. I jumped straight into that saw blade on the final hit. Brutal.
Let's see. I think that was one off. Oof. Yeah, just don't die. It's easy.
So I reset, take a deep breath, and run it back. This time, I reach the final boss with 5 deaths to spare. All I need to do is to not throw.
Okay, 5 deaths for the boss.
Things do not get off to an amazing start here.
There's one. God. That should be fine. Good. Ooh. We get some pretty easy timing with the missile, and things are looking good. We still have 4 lives to spare. 3, 1 more hit, and we got him. Do it. Ooh. Oh my god. Disaster. That was truly a terrible death at the very last moment, but we're still in okay shape. Got him. Artificial bear, and that should be the plat. Hopefully. Ooh, Ursine God. This game was an absolute blast, and I genuinely think it's one of the most underrated platformers out there. If you're a fan of Super Meat Boy or any of the hardcore precision platformers, I can't recommend this one enough. If you want to see more, I've tackled a ton of other hard games, and you can check them out here. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like and subscribe to help the channel grow, and I'll see you next time. Thanks!